By 1998, Steven Spielberg was the most successful movie director in Hollywood. His string of international hits had made him one of the most sought-after people in the movie business. The involvement of Steven Spielberg in a movie effectively guaranteed its commercial success. When it came to entertainment, the director had the Midas touch.
In many ways, we're living in the world of entertainment that was built by Steven Spielberg. He is known for his big action flicks, his dramas, his horror movies, and also his sci-fi movies. He pretty much created the word blockbuster.
Steven Spielberg in the 1990s was at the apex of directors. There was no better known director, more successful director. Everything he touched during the 1990s turned to gold. Everything he touches today turns to gold. He's an accomplished, well-regarded, high-profile director.
Steven Spielberg is the man in Hollywood. If somebody wants a film made and wants it to be big, they're going to go to Steven Spielberg. I mean, Indiana Jones, E.T., Jaws, they're all under Steven Spielberg's belt.
With success had come wealth, and Spielberg had built a comfortable and luxurious lifestyle for himself and his family.
Steven Spielberg is one of Hollywood's richest men. He is said to be worth over $3 billion. But based on his lifestyle and what he provides to the public, you would never know. He owns about 4 properties, Los Angeles, New York. He had a $184 million yacht, not too shabby.
But with stardom comes fan worship, and to protect himself, Spielberg was living in a secure home in Pacific Palisades. Spielberg had concluded that Los Angeles was the only logical place to live, as he was inextricably bound to the city by the demands of his career. Los Angeles was also the headquarters of Amblin Entertainment, the production company he ran out of the Universal Studios lot. The house on Amalfi Drive that Spielberg had chosen had a significant past, and the history of the house had instinctively attracted Spielberg. But one person was determined to disrupt Steven Spielberg's privacy and to make his life a living hell. His name was Jonathan Norman, and he was about to enter the director's life, and he had the potential to change it irrevocably.
Jonathan Norman was a very dangerous man, and his delusion was taking him down a dangerous path as it related to Steven Spielberg.
He believed that Steven Spielberg was his adopted father, and that Steven Spielberg had communicated with him that he had this rape fantasy, and he was asking Norman to come and tie him up and rape him. And so his fantasy was that he was going to kidnap and rape Steven Spielberg, and if need be, he would do it in front of Mr. Spielberg's wife.
On July the 11th, William Hunter, a security officer, had noticed a Land Rover parked in an odd position across the street from Spielberg's residence.
He showed up with a different vehicle. He initially had come to the gate driving a Jeep Cherokee, and now he was driving a Land Rover very similar to Mr. Spielberg's wife car. So they were very familiar with him, having seen him surveilling the area, driving up and down the street, being parked down the block. He was in fact surveilling the residence, looking for weaknesses in the perimeter where he might breach the property wall and make entry into the residence.
A few hours later, at about 7 a.m., the Spielberg security company responded to several calls reporting a man in the backyards of the homes near to Spielberg's residence.
On July 11th, 1997, he comes back, parked down the street, gets out of his car, jumps over a neighbor's fence and starts prowling the neighbor's backyard. Neighbor sees him, confronts him. There's an exchange of words. Norman threatens the neighbor calls police. The police arrive, and there's a foot pursuit that ensues.
His day planner opened up, and that's when people saw the photos that he had of Steven naked and saying that he was going to rape him. So he was detained and put into custody.
After a short interview, Norman was released with a warning at about 10:30 a.m. For most people, a warning would have been enough, but Jonathan Norman had no intention of stopping.
5 hours later, he walked away from the mental health facility, returned to his car, immediately responded back to the Spielberg residence, where he attempted to force the gate open with his car, and he was detained by security guards.
When police arrived, they found Norman's unoccupied car parked about 2 blocks from Spielberg's residence. What officers found was disturbing.
Turns out he had a rape kit in his vehicle. He had several sets of handcuffs. He had electric shock devices for the nipples. He had envisioned tying up Mr. Spielberg, raping him in front of his wife, and torturing him in front of his wife.
In his car, he had like a day planner. He had writings that talked about his violent fantasies, which included having a pistol and forcing people at gunpoint to submit to his sexual violence. He also had pornographic pictures in which he had cut out the heads and placed pictures of Spielberg on some of these pictures.
In the notebook, he said that he was pursuing to become Steven's gay lover. And there was also more razor blades, there was a map of the stars, there was a handbook on John Lennon's stalking. So he really thought about this.
He actually had a list in his car too of, go to the pet store, buy chloroform, get duct tape, buy handcuffs, get a replica pistol. Jonathan Norman actually had a checklist, which we consider to be part of his rape preparation. He was very dangerous. He was pre-planned, he was purposeful, and he was about to engage in an act of predatory violence.
He had envisioned tying up Mr. Spielberg, raping him in front of his wife, and torturing him in front of his wife.
On July 14th, a security agent notified Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce Raymer, about the events on June 29th and July 11th. On July 17th, Norman was released from custody and Raymer was notified. He in turn contacted Spielberg in Ireland and told him about Norman's conduct.
With 500 guns being on the set, one wonders what was going through Spielberg's mind, thinking, are one of these guys actually stalking me? Is there something going to happen here? Would a real bullet find his way to him? So there must have been a lot of torment going on in his mind.
This shook up his world. He was so frightened for himself and his family that he added extra security measures both at his home and on his movie sets, and for actually his mother as well, because he was scared for everybody in his family. He had a full security review. He had 24-hour armed guards. He had literally security all over the place because he did not want this guy to get back in.
In talking to the roommate and some other acquaintances of Mr. Norman, he had long had this fixation on Steven Spielberg and would frequently masturbate to pictures of Steven Spielberg and videos of Steven Spielberg inside of his apartment.
But when I met with him, I said, so what shall I refer to you as? Mr. Norman, Jonathan, what would you like? He said, you can call me Mickey Mouse.